Okay, welcome. I'm Art Russell.
I'm Jim Shine.
We're the Jacksonville Orchid Society, and we're going to talk for a few minutes about miniature orchids. So let me ask a question for those who are watching. How many folks don't have space in their greenhouse? This is the solution. Instead of having these huge 7-foot cattleyas that you can in fact get, or these 8-foot dendrobiums, here you can build 150 blooms on this one little pot. This is Pleurothallus grobii. And all of these guys bloom very well, and you can find miniature orchids across all of the different types of orchids that are out there, all the different families of orchids. They all have miniatures. Miniatures is a deceptive definition. It's real simple. Anything that's got a pseudobulb or leaves lower than or less than 7 inches, that's a miniature orchid, okay? And so this, which is a very pretty Epidendrum Ricoclarens, which is a hybrid, this is not a miniature. Okay, notice the length of the bloom here, not a miniature. On the other hand, this guy, Pleurothallus grobii, you've got a bloom, or correction, a leaf that is about half an inch maybe, and the blooms are going to be on the order of a 1/4 inch. So definitely a miniature. And there's all kinds of variation in between. And let me explain that. Is Dendrobium kingianum. You'll notice the pseudobulb here is about 2 to 3 inches long. So that says I'm a miniature, okay? This is Dendrobium kingianum, and it's much larger. This is not a miniature. So a lot of it is kind of an arbitrary definition, depending on how you're growing your orchids and which one grows well and which ones don't grow well. So a lot of variation in when you're talking dendrobiums or any kind of orchids. Okay, so I brought a few orchids here. We're going to talk those very quickly. Let me bring this one up first. This is called Dockrilla wasselincei. Okay, Dockrilla wasselincei, and all of your Dockrillas are out of Australia. These are one of your Aussie dens. And you'll notice that this guy is mounted horizontally. It has a rambling growth structure. It's a sympodial orchid. It wants to meander. It's called the Cooktown orchid. It wants to meander on the trunks of trees. It never dries out. Oh, it'd be perfect there, except it gets too cold here. This orchid can go down to about 50 degrees, and it can, with this type of Tourette form, it can handle high light, okay, very easily. So it's not going to overabsorb, but it wants a lot of moisture. So this guy never really ever dries out. And just a spectacular, easy to grow orchid. I just cut 2 divisions off of it, and I've done multiple divisions of this over time. Every couple of years it's time to throw more divisions off of this guy, because it's just that easy to grow. As I said, Cooktown orchid, and you keep it moist. Don't get it too bright. It does not want to live in the shade. It's not a phalaenopsis type orchid. You grow it with your cats, but give it lots of water. You give it enough water that it will kill your cats. Okay, that's your cattleya type of orchid. That's the problem. So in fact, that's the problem with a lot of your dendrobiums, whether they're full size or miniature, is the dendrobiums want the amount of light that cattleyas do, but they need more moisture than the cattleyas do. You don't want to let them dry out. A dry cat is a happy cat. Water it tomorrow. A dry dendrobium is not a happy plant. Okay, so that's just a rule of thumb. All orchids vary. All families of orchids are going to have some extremes on either side. Some dendrobiums, yeah, please. If I'm wet at all, I'm going to die now. But as a general rule, just a rule of thumb, never let them get too dry. All that varies, although depending on the orchid, that varies by the time of year. Okay, another Dockrilla. So this is Dockrilla lichtenastrum. This is another Dockrilla. And depending on which taxonomist has it right now, it's either a Dockrilla or it's a dendrobium. Okay, it flips back and forth. I'm calling them Dockrillas, damn it. And this one has a very small bloom. Okay, this is the same orchid. It's a very slow growing orchid. This one I've had since 2017, and you can see it's just now starting to fill up this piece. But it wants reasonably high light. 50% shade, no lower than about 60 degrees. And this one will bloom about twice a year. That is variety Prentensii, and that guy blooms 5, 6, 7, 8 times a year or more. Just a slight variation in the name and can mean a huge difference in its growth habit. But I water this guy every day, and it's a happy camper. So this is Dendrobium Prentensii, okay? That is Dendrobium or Docrilla and its variety Prentensii. What that tells you is a guy who discovered that particular variety, his name was Pretense.
It wasn't Dr. Rilla.
I know it wasn't Dr. Rilla. It was not Dr. Rilla, but this is very similar. I've never seen Prentensii, so I would have to look that one up. For anybody who's interested in that sort of stuff, there's some really excellent references online. The Jan Fale down in Key West, Florida has the International Orchid Database online. If you're not using that as a reference, you should. He does huge amount of work to make that thing work, and it's a good first source of information. For any information on dendrobiums, look for the Baker book on dendrobium orchid culture. It is one of the de facto references. And anything that the Bakers have done, they're both deceased now, that's the backbone software program called Orchid Whiz. If you're seeing it in Orchid Whiz, it's probably out of one of the Bakers' work. By the way, the Kingianum, this is also another Australian orchid. Clements in Australia did a book in 1995 on the Kingianums. So if you want to look for a reference, Clements' book on it is the good thing. He's also massively published about Kingianum. Okay, so another orchid that I brought along is this guy right here. So this is not a dendrobium. This is in the family of Cattleyas. And this guy is going to be Encyclia polybulbon. Notice that it's got that same rambling way of moving across something. This guy is about twice the size that it was when I first put this over here in 2025. So it grows fairly rapidly, but this is what it likes. You'll note that I'm using horizontal culture instead of mounting it this way. The reason for that is it's going to hold a little bit more moisture before the moisture goes away, and the orchid's going to get the moisture that it needs. It's not going to dry out too quickly, but it's not going to hold too much moisture. That's the trick with this guy. It has very small blooms, actually very attractive little blooms, and think this guy except purple and half the size, and that's the bloom that you get out of this guy. It's a very attractive little orchid. So, and once again, very easy to grow. You put a small piece on there and it's going to take off. You just need to keep it moist, let it dry off every day. Like all good Cattleyas, it wants to dry. Get it wet, let it dry. Get it wet, let it dry. So, Grobii, which I mentioned earlier. This guy is growing in a pot. The media in here this is a Vandapot type, actually probably a dope dealer's pot, but that's for hydroculture. And the media that I've got in here is simply Osmunda. You can't get much of it anymore, but that's all this guy is growing on. So it's in a pot, it's in a net basket, okay? Grows well there. This is Grobii as well. So point in case, and this is on a piece of pecan wood, so it's a hardwood. Okay, don't mount on softwoods because softwoods will rot rapidly. Okay, so this will be in good shape, long past cork being good. Let's see. Well, here's an interesting orchid that Ray has. So this is Epidendrum canopsum. It's also known as Epidendrum magnoliae. It came out of a tree on his property, and the beauty of this is a Florida native orchid. And this guy it's native all the way up into South Carolina. You can grow this orchid to 4 degrees centigrade or 4 degrees Fahrenheit. It handles cold weather very well. This guy needs lots of light. I've had this before and I did not give it enough light and it did not thrive as a result. So lots of light, and if I ever get another piece, I'll try it that way. But I think it's what's the name of this? This is the green fly orchid. Yes, green fly orchid. It's a native to Florida. Here's an interesting orchid. So by definition, this is less than about 7 inches. So the blooms out of this is Dendrobium aggregatum, also known as Dendrobium lindleyi, the official name nowadays. So it meets that criterion of being a miniature orchid. However, but there's a miniature form of this orchid known as Dendrobium jenkinsii, which is typically half the size of this guy. Maximum size is half. You get the same size bloom, maybe just slightly smaller, looks just like the aggregatum. Beautiful orchid, really easy to grow. And if you're just starting a collection, this is an orchid to have. Either version, aggregatum or jenkinsii. Mounted like this, make sure it gets water every day. You don't want to get it too cold in the winter. This is an orchid that you don't need to worry about particularly. It's a tough orchid. It grows very, very well.